Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Facebook Live. It is Tuesday morning. It is August 22nd. We're going to talk about the hot day on tap in just a second. But first, a reminder, you can join us every morning about 8 o'clock. We do this Facebook Live for you. You can find us on your feed throughout the rest of the day. You can also find us on your Inform YouTube channel and on your favorite podcast platform as well. That would be inform.com/podcast. And then just look for the Inform Minute. So pretty easy to do that. All right, Lydia, today the headlines are a lot of weather because it's going to be dangerously hot out.
I've been complaining about it all morning.
Fair enough. A lot of people will be, I think.
It's going to be hot and sticky. I mean, it's already warm and muggy to start. Even at 3 in the morning, it was like, ooh, you can tell it's going to be a sweaty day. So temperatures will end up near 90 for the southern parts of the area. Up north, a little bit cooler. They're just further away from that heat source. So still warm and muggy up there, but downright hot and sticky the further south that you go, where temps will be near 90 and then dew points will be in the 70s. That's humidity.
That's uncomfortable.
That's very oppressive. Yeah, the air will feel thick. You're going to step out the door. It's the instant sweat where you don't even want to touch your own body. Yeah, that's how it's going to be today. And then, of course, with the heat and humidity combined, it'll feel even hotter. So anywhere from 95 to about the triple digits for your feels like temps today. Yeah. If you have to be outside, take breaks inside, air conditioning, shade, drink water, all of those good things to remember. Happy July.
Yeah.
There's some fog still this morning. We do have some soup. It's just so humid. The moisture is there, and you can actually see it in some spots. It's misting in Grand Forks this morning. That'll slowly get better. I think eventually we start to see some sunshine today, and that's going to help to boost the temps too. Tomorrow, about the same. I think a little teeny tiny bit better, but you probably won't notice it because heat and humidity are just heat and humidity. It's almost like once it gets below zero, it's just so cold that it's cold.
It's just cold.
Today it's tomorrow and today, it's so hot that it's just hot. Thursday is the day where the cold front is to the rescue, and that will start to bring in some of that cooler air. It takes time though, so still warm and muggy on Thursday. A few thunderstorms with this cold front sliding through. I mean, you got a colder air mass moving into a hot and sticky atmosphere. It's like the perfect recipe for storms. So we'll watch out for some storms Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. Behind that, it turns cooler, crisper, better by the time we get to Friday, in my opinion, at least. 70s for Friday.
Yeah.
So.
And in your 10-day forecast this morning, we're getting to the end of August into September. So
the rest of August is on the 10-day now, and it still has plenty of heat. 70s for Friday, Saturday, and then 80s there on after, and not much rain either. So areas that still need rain, I don't have a good bet for moisture on this 10-day forecast. Do you want to talk about Harold?
Sure. Let's dive into it.
Yeah. So Harold developed overnight, Tropical Storm Harold. It was an area yesterday I showed you on First News, and we said, okay, something's going to happen here. And then sure enough, overnight, it did strengthen enough to get a name. So it is Tropical Storm Harold. It is falling on the Texas Gulf Coast, right now.
Yeah, pretty much. We had some live looks at it this morning. It wasn't bad necessarily yet, but you could see it brewing. The flags were moving. It started to rain, that kind of thing.
All of that. Scott will give you the details, but it's a pretty impressive looking storm for having just bubbled up. It was the 4th named storm in the Atlantic in 39 hours. All of a sudden we had Harold and Franklin and Gert and Emily. Franklin, the other 3 not too worried about. They're not going to impact the U.S., but Harold is bearing down this morning. So all of a sudden folks in Texas were prepping for a tropical storm pretty much out of nowhere. So
So a question for you. Now, this is maybe seem obvious to some people, but I'm sure some people have the same question. Could that storm still turn into a hurricane or not?
No. So once it hits land, it loses its energy source. And so it's living off of the fuels of the water and the warm water. That's what's fueling it. Once it hits land, it starts to weaken, and then it turns into just some rain showers and remnants of a low pressure system before it fades away. So it will not strengthen. If this particular storm was, say, closer to Florida and had all of that Gulf to work with, I'd be concerned about a hurricane because that water is warm and that's plenty of space for it to strengthen and turn into a hurricane. Because of where it developed and then the land being so close in proximity, now it's going to weaken and just kind of turn into some rain showers after hitting land.
Thanks for answering my question.
Of course, anytime. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Lydia. All right, let's dive into those details that I have about Harold here. That was a tropical depression in the Gulf of Mexico. It's now strengthened to a tropical storm, like Lydia just said. It's expected to move over Texas, specifically South Texas, by midday today. That region is bracing for the heavy rain, flooding, powerful winds as the storm, is going to hit the state here. expectations, it could dump about 7 inches of rain in some areas, winds 40 to 50 miles an hour, and there's going to be rising waters that move inland from the shoreland, and that could cause some pretty major flooding. So the National Guard there is on standby, and a lot of the power companies that work with all the electricity are also on standby to try to fix any power outages as quickly as they can. Let's dive into your local headlines this morning. Right now, despite a shooting that killed 1 officer and injured 2 others in Fargo, recruits have not been discouraged from applying to join the Fargo police force. In fact, Police Chief David Zabolski told the Forum that the force has actually seen a surge in applications since that shooting happened. The department opened 7 positions and received 40 applicants without the city even advertising those jobs at all. While many police agencies see officers leave their positions following these types of things, like a police shooting, that does not appear to be the case here in Fargo. Right now, the police force is on track to be fully staffed with all 186 of its positions filled. And meantime, we're working to learn more about the search for a new West Fargo police chief after the current chief announced his retirement. We found out last night that Chief Dennis Otterness is retiring. He says his last day will be October the 6th. He was named chief of police there in September of 2020 after starting his career in West Fargo more than 30 years ago. Right now, preparations are underway for the Minnesota State Fair. That is just 2 days away. I'm sure many of you are probably excited to go check it out. Well, this year, State Fair Police, their department is increased by 30% this year ahead of the Great Minnesota Get-Together. The department will now have 170 officers instead of the 130 that they had last year. And for the first time, the Minnesota DNR, as well as undercover officers, will all be on site to help out and patrol the fairgrounds. They're also working with the FBI and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Now, you might say this is a lot of hoopla, a lot of increased security. Well, it's because there are some safety concerns, and that's been prompted by recent events of the past few years. Last year, the state experienced a shooting, or the State Fair experienced a shooting that injured 1 person. And then back in 2019, a similar incident, 3 people hurt in a shooting. So they're just trying to, of course, protect everybody. Right now, we're waiting to hear back from the superintendent in Fertile to learn if a teacher there still has a job after being charged with sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl. 30-year-old Richard Schramm made his first court appearance this week. He is listed as an elementary, junior, and high school choir director at Fertile Beltrami and has been with the district for 7 years. He is accused of sexually assaulting the girl at a cabin in Gray Eagle, Minnesota last month. Court records show they were both staying there with other people. Deputies say Schramm admitted to having sex with that girl after he was arrested. This morning, a West Fargo principal who's also facing charges, this time related to child pornography, he's now officially without a job. The West Fargo School Board accepted David George's resignation in a meeting that lasted less than 10 minutes last night. He started as principal at Independence Elementary School on July 1st, but submitted his resignation after his arrest happened last week. George worked for the West Fargo Public School District for a decade. He was also an assistant principal and athletic director at Cheney Middle School. He is facing 7 felonies, including promoting a sexual performance by a minor. He'll be back in court next month. A Grand Forks man wanted in connection with an armed robbery has been arrested. Michael Landvik was arrested on Friday in connection to a robbery that happened back in July. He made his initial court appearance over Zoom yesterday. He's facing multiple felonies like armed robbery, theft, and terrorizing. Now, police are still looking for David Whitlow Jr. He's facing similar charges as Landvik because he was an accomplice in this whole thing. Landvik is scheduled to be back in court September 25th. Starting today, part of a major highway in Minnesota will have some alternating lane closures and work going on there. Drivers will come across that on Highway 10 on the eastbound side near Hawley and Detroit Lakes. Crews are doing surfacing repairs. That's including milling and paving sections of that highway. And then in Fargo, you might have noticed this morning if you travel on 994 near the Tri-Level Bridge area, there's some new signs going up. The cones have been moved around. Things have been switched up a little bit. So just be aware of that when you go through that area today. Things are a little different. So take it slow, be careful. follow the signs, follow the cones, that kind of thing. It just kind of catches you off guard if you're not prepared for it. Crews were working overnight to kind of move things around. And then today, actually that same area, the tri-level bridge, will have its second day of inspections going on. That goes from 8:30 to 3 both today and tomorrow. All right, NDSU has to deal with an injury to a potential starter on the defensive line. Dom is going to be talking about who's going to fill in as the season opener is just 11 days away. Plus, the Paint the Bucket game is just 2 days away. How Valley City State is prepping for its rival with Jamestown. You can watch Hot Mike with Dom Izzo this morning on WDAY Extra and Inform.com. It is from 9 to 11 this morning. And don't forget, for 99 cents a month for your first 3 months, you can get an all-access pass to Inform.com. Just visit Inform.com/subscribe to take advantage of that deal. Also, join us on air for the rest of our newscast today. Our next one's at 11 o'clock. Lisa's filling in on that newscast today. She'll be back then. And then this afternoon, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10. And we'll all be back tomorrow morning for First News from 5 to 7. So join us then. Have a good day. Stay safe. Stay inside if you can. Stay cool. If you go outside, make sure to hydrate, wear your sunscreen, all that good stuff. Bye-bye. Have a good day.